Welcome, welcome to the Commanders Draft Coverage Show. We are back at you today, and today we're going to talk a little bit about free agency this past week, just a little bit. Last time we saw you all was last Sunday, and somebody told me we made a whole lot of moves. So we're just going to talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to get into the trenches inside the centers, the guards, the defensive tackles. These are one of the positions that we might not see the Commanders go early, but may go late. So we have a couple guys that's going to be drafted day 1, day 2, and a couple that we can probably may target on day 3. So right after this, we're gonna chop it up with the crew. Welcome back, Commanders Draft Coverage. We got Adam, Ken, and Kyle is still on his way back from out of town. So filling in for him today is the guy I told you last week that's trying to take my job on his Cavs draft coverage. So I ain't gonna ask him too many questions. He might show off. DT, welcome, brother. Welcome.
Good, bro. What's good?
And Kyle say thank you. He appreciates you jumping in and taking over. Adam, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Ken, how are you?
Doing all right.
Yeah, so let's start with Ken. The Commanders made a couple moves last week.
I heard that.
Any favorites for you?
I mean, across the board, I like it all, but the one that I really like is Dorrance Armstrong. We needed edge. We needed 2 going into free agency and the draft. We still need one more if you really think about it. I know we have Dante Fowler in there, but we just need someone who's going to be a good impact edge. So we're going to get that person in the draft. All right, will it be in late free agency where somebody releases an edge that still has quite a bit in the tank? That remains to be seen. But Armstrong's my favorite if I had to really pick one.
What about you, Adam?
Honestly, as far as happiest need, Tyler Biadasz is the center out of Dallas. I thought going into the draft, they really put themselves in a situation where, left tackle and center, they probably have to find those early. So I think now that gives them a little bit of leeway, especially with that extra third that they got for the Sam Howell trade. But after, watching some film on him the last couple of days, Frankie Louvu, the linebacker out of Carolina, man, kid can play. So you got a guy that's not only outside linebacker that has, time at the Mike linebacker. So before the Wagner signing, I had him penciled in as the Mike linebacker, but I think that's probably going to change now. So, but you have a guy like Louvu that you can move all over the place, just ultra athletic, the kind of signings they made, guys that are really stepping up their play in the last year, 2 years. And that's what Frankie Louvu done. So I really like the class in general. The Mariota signing, I wasn't, very big on, but in general, all of their signings, I thought, filled needs. And, the Frankie Louvu was, decent money. So, nothing crazy break the bank, but this is a guy I think is going to make some noise this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The Frankie Louvu, just looking at a few clips and Doug's Tuesday film show, man, they Mock kind of broke some of that down. It was just glorious to watch. I'm really, really excited about him. From the motor he has, the production that he's put out on the field, the way he tackles, his impact, the way he runs through people. It kind of reminds me of somebody we ain't seen in a long time. I ain't gonna say their names right now, but I haven't seen nothing like that in a long time. DT, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, so overall solid free agency so far for this regime. Guys saying Frank Louvu, I love that, but I'm gonna go with Jeremy Chin. This was a guy, rookie year. He was if Chase Young didn't have his crazy year, rookie year, he probably would have won it as well. He was all over the place his rookie year, getting the football, finding ways to make plays. Of course, in Carolina, come some defensive schemes, clashing things like that. Health has been an issue as well. Signing him to a 1 year deal over here, give him an opportunity. We know what Dan Quinn has done with Kayron Curse and Donovan Wilson, those guys at safety. This is a great opportunity to play in this style of defense with Joe Witt to revitalize career and get a bigger payday.
Chase, what's good? Chase, Glenn, Kurt, how you doing, buddy? The real Benjamin. Yes, we need a wide receiver over 6'1" ASAP. I appreciate you for commenting. This might be your first time commenting, so continue to comment, brother. What's going on, Judge? Good evening, fella. I hear the Vikings might want to move up to. We're not moving. Like I'd be real surprised if we move from number 2. But we have so much information. I'm just tired of talking about the number. I just want to talk about the 2nd round through the 7th round.
Right.
Gus, the beauty of our pickups is that they can start giving our barren roster, but they're not so great that a high-performing rookie can't beat them on the depth chart either. What's up, Danny? What's up with the Vikes trying to trade in number 2? We'll see, man. Hassan was good. And Timothy, yes, the Browns signed Tyler Huntley. And speaking of Tyler Huntley, somebody just tweeted out that that's who they want the Commanders to get. Right, Adam?
Yeah. No, he was a guy. I wrote an article earlier in the year, way earlier, before the season, actually, when he was a restricted free agent, that I thought Washington should have, made a play for him. I really liked his college ball. I really liked what he was doing on the field. So yeah, I think they got to steal with him because, like I said, the Mariota signing, I was looking for more of a veteran, but not a washed up veteran, leadership is good. And I think Huntley, he has some decent leadership. He's been around some really good guys in Baltimore. And I think, that would have been a good idea, but I don't know. I think it's about relationships. And I understand that with the Brian Johnson hire. So I think, they brought him in for, basically teach the offense part of, second coach on the field. So, but Huntley skill wise, way better than most of these guys out there, backups.
You talking about Pro Bowl Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. But MTC, let me see who we have on the roster. We have Terry, we have Jahan, De'Ami Brown, Kaiser Allen.
You have
Crowder.
Yeah,
Jameson Crowder.
Bryson Tremaine, Stanford. He's still on the roster.
He's still on the roster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we still got a lot to add. Yep, I love the Bobby Wagner signer. 3 third-round picks is looking good, and Leggett. I posted Ken. We gonna get to the wide receivers soon. But before we move on, Ken, you have an updated list of who the Commanders have met with, either formally or informal. You can give us those numbers. Now, listen closely to these numbers that Ken has given us. We're going to also clip this part, but you guys that's listening, pay close attention to these numbers.
No pressure, right? Okay. These are the new numbers of all the players that Commanders have met with formally, informally, all the way from the college gridiron showcase in early January up through the most recent pro day information I have, and includes most, if not all, the meetings, formal and informal, at the combine. So here we go. They have met with 25 quarterbacks, 56 wide receivers, 26 tight ends, 33 running backs, 31 offensive guards, 39 offensive tackles, 16 offensive centers. That's 86 offensive linemen, 56 cornerbacks. There's your number one position overall. 17 strong safeties, 19 free safeties. You have position flex there, obviously, for a total of 92 defensive backs, 44 linebackers, defensive end, edge rushers, 42, defensive tackles, defensive line, 40, for a total of 82. They have met with 7 kickers, 7 punters, and 7 long snappers. Overall, 465 total meetings, formal and informal, since this process began. And we still have many more pro days to go. I would not be surprised if this number tops 480 meetings overall by the time we're said and done. Now, obviously, they are narrowing down the list as we speak. So their list is actually probably not 465 at this juncture. My guess is less than 300.
So you've been doing this a few years now. Is this number, is that what out of the number collectively and individually, any surprises or concerns or surprises?
No, there isn't. When you look at team needs, that before free agency, they were targeting players that we thought they would, in the numbers. So let me pull it back up here. So we know quarterback is going number one. You know, nothing surprised. No surprises there. Wide receiver surprises me a little bit. 56 of them. That's tied actually for a cornerback. So wide receiver is going to be a target, it looks like. Offensive tackle, yeah, that's the most I've ever seen. That's going to be a target. We're going to talk about offensive guards today, 31. That is a new record, that I've seen. So, yes. So, and cornerbacks, that's going to be a target too. That's pretty obvious. So, last year, offensive tackles, cornerbacks led the way. We took a corner in the first round. So it stands to reason.
Hassan, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be. I know the NFL is investigating both situations that they come out, so we'll see. Now these guys do it all the time. I mean, they be Senior Bowl, they be at the bars and all that stuff, talking all of just talking with the agents and players and all that stuff. So it happens all over. I'll be surprised if something major happens with that. So Adam, let's get into the inside offensive lineman. Some of the pickups they made last week. Do you see them, like, what's the state of our interior offensive line in your opinion?
Like I mentioned the center from Dallas we got, but yeah, also that kid from Kansas City, they true grit, Torres was a bicep muscle, something like that, and the Super Bowl played through as a tough guy. But is he a guy that can't be unseated by a rookie money-wise and everything? No, it shows that no matter what happens, that they got a good signing, because if you have to start him, that's great. But, I really hope they can walk away from this draft in the first couple rounds with some interior help, because, the center, I think that guy from Dallas, I think he's set. But I think that left guard position and left tackle position, that's wide open right now. But I think, from center, right guard, right tackle, I think they're set. So it's those two positions that I think, you got to keep a close eye on. After the quarterback, I think those are the two main positions they need to look at.
Whew, don't tell me that. I hope right tackle ain't not set.
No. I don't mean set in stone, but I still think they need to get a right tackle. But
gotcha.
They don't have anybody right now. That
nobody is at
right guard and left tackle and left guard. There is nobody right now. So
yeah. DT, when you look at this tackle position, and as of now, we haven't signed any tackles in free agency. Like, what's the chance of us starting 2 rookie offensive tackles?
If I had to do a percentage, I'm probably somewhere in the 50s, close to 60s range, based on how deep this tackle class is. And I know a lot of people, the biggest worry is having 2 rookie tackles and you having a rookie quarterback. But in terms of having 2 rookie tackles, it has been done before.
Yeah.
Look at what the Seattle Seahawks have done. They drafted Charles Cross in the first round and also got a good find in Abram Lucas. Now both of them had some injuries last year, but that's still a great find in that draft for their offensive line, and look for them to be good. So the right tackles in this class, they're good. So if you can find a good right tackle, you can find a way to put Wiley at guard because he was a guard at Kansas City. You have some movable pieces to help this offensive line.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to move Cosme. Ken, at this, the year before last, he was frustrated by moving tackle guard. Last year, they kept him right at guard throughout the whole year. And I think that's where he's going to be. You know, we don't that PF word that we don't say around here anymore. Let Cosby play guard, let him stick there, and go out there and find a right tackle. Where are you with, you know, some of the smoke from the fans about moving Cosby out to right tackle?
No, he's anchored where he is.
Right.
I mean, he's planted a tree there. He's not moving, and that's where he's going to play for as long as he is in Washington. And hopefully he stays his entire career in the burgundy and gold, and he'll always be the right guard. As far as the tackles, yeah, right tackle, you have plenty of them in this draft. You're going to find one. So I'm not worried about that at all. Left tackle, I still maintain that somehow, some way, we're going to trade back up into the first round. And I think that appears to be more and more likely. I came out with a mock draft a couple of weeks ago saying that we're going to move up to somewhere around the 20th position, maybe, you know, give or take a little bit. And there's going to be a good left tackle there. And I believe that's what we will do. So, like DT said, not worried about that. Rookie tackles, you know, a lot of good rookie offensive linemen, they can come in and just play right away, you know, almost like a plug and play, especially those early picks. So I'm not worried about it at all. The left guard is still a concern, but don't sell Allegretti short, our new signing this past week. This guy is tough as nails. And in one pick, he's trying to grin, and I'm like, that's what I like to see in my offensive lineman, a guy that doesn't look happy, a guy that looks naturally mean, you know, a guy that's how he looks when he eats his meals. I want him to go out there and just be as mean as possible. And I think he's nasty and he's good. And he's going to challenge for the starting position. But, you know, we're going to be covering some guards today. So this offensive line, by the time we get to August and training camp, the preseason, I think this offensive line is going to be remade and looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, Gus, I think because of like what the guys just said, there are a lot of right tackles in this draft, a lot of qualified for day one starters in this draft. Probably day one and day two, you're going to find a starting right tackle. So I definitely don't think they're going to move Cosme back out to right tackle. Yeah, we can do a lot of things to get back in the 20s. Even for an edge, I wouldn't be surprised. I think, like Adam, I think it depends like what wave happened in the first. If Chop goes, I don't know, top 15, then, you know, if you want one of those top 3 edges, you might have to come back into the first. And then if the wide receivers go and you get a tackle here and there and they don't start to go, you can wait to 36. But this draft is just, this might be one of the best drafts for us that we've ever had, because we just don't know what's going to happen. Like you could have 6 to 7 quarterbacks within the top 40 picks.
Right. So because teams are going to pick for need, and then like you mentioned Chop, but you know Jared Verse too from Florida State.
Yeah.
I think they could go right, you know, after each other. I think that's what you're going to see. But then I maintain it. I think you're going to start to get into the 20s, and you're going to start to see, you know, there'll be Neighbors, Harrison, you know, a couple receivers early on. But I think as soon as you get to the 20s, there's going to be a run on tackles and wide receivers, because I think teams know that when they get the second round, those kind of guys aren't going to be there, because we talked about tackles second round, more right tackle, more interior lineman available. If you really want one of those left tackles, I do think that you're going to have to move up. Even the kid from Arizona, I think you still have to move up, because I think, so you'll see mocks and stuff have him later on. Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma. These are the kind of guys I think are going to go in the first round. So I think that Washington has the ammunition, and honestly, I've been on board with all their moves so far, and I would really be surprised if, 3 third rounds, 2 second rounds, you could package those third rounds and, just move up to the first round with that second. So I'd be surprised if they don't do it, because you could do that, still address your other positions after that. You're really not sacrificing anything. So,
yep. Yeah, Christopher, like we have to go quarterback at 2. There's no other option. Like, let's just do it, get it over with, and then start building the team out. Yep, we have 3 third. I can't. Sam Howell, like, go ahead, Ken. What you about to say?
People have been talking about trading down. I know they're talking about that primarily at number 2, but at other points in the first 3 rounds, folks, we have 6 picks in the first 100 picks.
100. Yep.
Why would we need to trade down
Right.
when you have 6? Let's say you have 2 picks in the top 100. Yeah, you're probably going to look at trading down to gain more picks. When you have 6 in the top 100, you're not trading down. You
Right.
might even be thinking about trading up. And we just talked about that. Stop the talk about trading down. It's not happening. Thank you for laughing and making, proving the point that it's ridiculous. Thank you.
Yeah, that trade down. No, that's not. Like, everybody's saying preach in the comments.
Trying to kill that.
The facts. People just be talking. Let's go. And FYI, John Kine just put out. I know a lot of people didn't see Eckler yet, but he'll be there tomorrow. So, a lot of times these guys is on vacations. They probably out the country or have different obligations during free agency. So, they can't come as quick as the others. But Eckler's supposed to be in the building tomorrow to sign his contract and probably have a press conference like the other guys. All right, so we sound Tyler Biadasz, center. Adam, are there some guys, some centers, and of course we know about JPJ, like we know about those guys, but is there anyone that the Commanders may look at early or late in the draft as far as a center is concerned?
I think that by signing the kid from Dallas, I think that gives them leeway now to look at maybe, day 3. So right now, no, but I'm still going through the later round guys. So I don't, any of the, Jackson Powers, Schwartz, West Virginia, guys like that. I think those guys are late first, second round now. So, at the earliest with those. So I think you're looking a lot later. I think that guy through the 3-year deal, it's a lot of these deals have, the third, it's relatively 2-year deals. After the 2 years they get out. This kid from Dallas, he'll legitimately play through this 3 years. I think out of everyone they have, he's the most likely to probably get an X contract, the age still permitting. So I don't think they need to look early for that position. More at guard. And, we're going to talk about them. I think those are the guys that they're going to have to look at in that second, with those extra picks in the second and third rounds. It depends who's available, but yeah, that's who they're going to look at, I think, early on. Because
that's what we did. Because I'd be surprised if they go center. They still have Stromberg. We don't know how they feel about him yet, but they drafted him early in the 3rd round last year. So I'd be surprised if they go guard at all, to be honest. What about you, Ken?
I really honestly don't see a center being drafted at all. I can see adding a couple as undrafted free agents. Maybe one in the 7th, but they don't have a 6th round pick anymore, although they have 2 picks in the 5th round. So it wouldn't surprise me if they traded back a little bit in the 5th round to get a 6th rounder and another 7th rounder. So maybe something that late, but I really think you probably at the center position, you probably look at undrafted free agents at that point. So I can see a couple of them.
Yeah, hopefully we don't trade up for a long snapper. DT, how confident are you in Stromberg?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I feel like Stromberg kind of had the bad end of the stick last year with all the things going on with the offensive line. I understand there was conversations even from the old regime that, he wasn't developed. He still needed some time. I think the biggest question looking at this team is he's going to get that time to get the reps and stuff. I feel like, they kind of put him at guard and put him at center and guard. I think he just needs to be truly a center. I don't have a problem with him playing guard, but when you're bouncing position multiple times during the season, you don't really get that feel. You don't get that rep at that spot. I think, with Bobby Johnson, he can probably find a way to keep him even as a backup center. And I think Biotis will be a great help to him in the room, being a little bit way better than Nick Gates and a little bit younger and some upside more than Spencer Larson. So I think the writing is still going to be told about what Stromberg can provide for this team.
All right, Adam, give us some guards.
All right, so we'll start off with my top guy, Kansas State, Cooper Beebe. Really good size, left guard, so he'd be familiar with the position. I do think he's probably going to go somewhere in the second round, so I think that might be a little rich, maybe a little early for Washington after they signed a kid from Kansas City. I think they might try to look at another position there, but powerful anchor, great hands, high football IQ, really good at pulling. And I think that's going to be a staple of this run game with Anthony Lynn. 49 straight starts, really good prospect. After that, I got this kid, Christian Haynes from Connecticut, 49 straight starts for him. Good size, 6'3", 317. I didn't mention the knock on the other guy, BB, is shorter arms, 31 and a half. But with this guy, different scenario, Haynes, 33 and a half inch arm. So long arm prospect, over 81 inch wingspan. Really good timing with his feet, picks up stunts, blitzes really well. Mauler finisher. Predominantly played in zone scheme with duo and power. So again, we're yet to determine what Washington is going to play. But these are the two top of the class as far as guard goes. And like I said, I could see them, anywhere from that second round through the third round. After that, I get to Boston College, Christian Mahogany. This is a guy I think more in that third round range, mid-third round range. So that could be a sweet spot for Washington. Decent size. Another one, 6'3", 314, good arm length. Not great, 33 and a half. No QB hits, only one sack allowed last year, so productive. Really light on his feet. Gets the second level really well. That's what I liked about him. Pass protection, do have some issues. Leverage, balance, a little too upright. Not too much bend in his when he's facing the rush. But these are the top three guys I have. To me, it's a legitimate drop-off. Once you get to some of the other guys, because you start to get on the small school level. A guy like when I watched Garrett Greenfield, which is a right tackle from South Dakota State, is Mason McCormick. He's a guy that played on the outside and inside, 6'4", 310, 33 and a half inch arm, so long arms. Strong power moves, team captain, again, FCS level, dominated. So the question always is with him is going to be, jumping to the NFL from the FCS level. He dominated on his level of competition. So you want to see that. After that, we get a guy that, played in the big time for Michigan, which is Zach Zinter, the biggest of the guard prospects, 6'6", 309, same inch long arms, 33 and a half. Good run blocker. So you really, you get your money's worth there. He's someone, these last two guys, you're looking more in that late fourth, probably fifth, because they're, still developmental guys. Accurate punches, but, decent for his size, but not as good as a puller, a little more stationary. The modern NFL, you want to see guys who can get out of space. So not sure he's the best guy for that, but I'm not really huge on this year's guard prospects. Like I said, I definitely wouldn't spend a second round, even though Cooper Beebe, I think is going to be a really good one for years to come. I just think with what Washington did, I think you got to try to look at other positions, even though they've got linebacker. Wagner's a 1-year deal. Louvet, hopefully he's going to be your Mike, and Jamin, we don't know how long he's going to be. Sounds like they want to have him more on the edge. So I do not think they're done with linebackers at all. I think that's a position they're going to have to address early. We'll talk about him as the year goes by, but Peyton Wilson from NC State, love him. But yeah, the guards, I'm not really huge on them, but yeah, those are the top ones the way I see it.
Ken, as you go through these lists and you look at these prospects, and as you give us your guards, not knowing the scheme, right? Because
Right. So
Cliff, look, don't attach air raid to me. I ain't air raid no more. You don't know what we gonna do. Like, how do you how at you guys that's not in the building? How do you kind of see who's going to fit the offense by not knowing exactly what the offense is going to be?
Well, first of all, if you want to take a screenshot real quick, like if you did that, my top 5 is the same as Adam's. Thanks, Adam. That's it. I'm done. No, you know what? We can circle back around to this because I want to hear DT's perspective as well. But, I want to say something about Mason McCormick. In recent years, a lot of players coming out of the Northern Plains, whether it be the Dakotas, Montana schools, Wyoming. There's been some good players at various positions up there, but especially the offensive linemen. And they come in the league, they're pretty good. They do a good job. So for me, I don't think there's any drop-off between the top 3 and then to Mason McCormick. Now, I do think there is a drop-off towards Zach Zenter. He has a championship pedigree, so I'm not going to add too much to what Adam said. But I'm going to say after this top 5, it does drop off considerably. So about circling back to me after DT, what he has to say about it, I'm going to talk about for just a couple of minutes some of the offensive tackles that are probably moved to the inside at the next level. Every year, you never see offensive guard move outside the offensive tackle, but every year you see offensive tackles that move to offensive guards at the next level. Now, Brandon Sheriff was trying to sell himself as a tackle in the NFL, and he was adamant about it in the pre-draft process. Well, they tried it out for about 3 or 4 days in training camp. Guess what? He goes to right guard and he realized, okay, this is actually pretty good. And look at where he's been ever since. Of course, he's over in Jacksonville now. But so I'll if you have time, we'll come back and I'll list some of these offensive tackles and some of their attributes.
Go ahead, DT. You give us your guards. It's probably the same because all you guys is looking at your work's probably the same. But if it is the same, you could talk about someone or like the difficulty from going from tackle to in college to tackle in pros and why so many of these guys end up being guards.
Hey man, it's pretty much the same. it's the same. I was like, well, what I'm going to talk about, but I will say this: I think the Zach Zenter, if that injury didn't happen, he definitely will be very, very high on a lot of people's lists. Very strong, 6'6", old classic, Big Ten mauler, definitely up there. Cooper BB, he's my man crush. That's my guy. Like if we can somehow get him in the second round to help out the tackle, whew, we talking about old school hogs right there. But a couple of names that I have looked at that they might need a little bit of refinement once they get in, but you have a development plan. Layden Robinson, guard from Texas A&M. He has a little bit of athleticism then and there, but it's still a little bit of work in progress with technique standpoints and stuff like that. I don't think he'll be extremely pro ready from the jump, but once you have a plan for him, I think he could be a solid fringe starter across the league and things like that. Also, a guy I was also looking at this morning, Bukes Limmer, the guard from Arkansas, 6'5", 307 pounds, 22 years old. Another tall interior presence across that line. He does lack a little bit of top level burst and speed across that, but I don't think that's going to be the end all be all. I still think he has the physical traits to play that position, and that's somebody you can stash on day 3 to help with your offensive line.
Okay, Ken. Now, pre-draft, going into the draft season, once the college football playoffs, you start hearing lists. Like I was told, you got 12, 13 tackles, left tackles. That's going to be day one starter at left tackle. But Senior Bowl happened, Combine happened, some pro days happened. Where are we now with that list?
I don't think it's shrunk a whole lot, but I think it's more spread out. In the various rounds, you're going to have a pretty fair number go in the first round, some in the second round, and you're going to find possible starters maybe in the third and fourth round. And when I say possible starters, maybe not their first year, maybe after year 2 or 3. So I think that's where we're at. It's not necessarily the numbers that thinned out. It's just we're learning more about them. We're seeing more of their measurables, and we're seeing them now against better competition at this point. So I'm going to go through this list. Some offensive tackles that that'll I think go to offensive guard next level. Satoa Lamea out of Utah. I believe he slides to the inside. He's someone that could stay at a tackle, so it's 50-50. Isaiah Adams out of Illinois. I think he definitely does go to the inside. A couple of others here. Dominic Pooney out of Kansas. He's 6'5", 320. That's pretty good size for a guard, pretty good size for a tackle. He could go either way. Walter Rouse out of Oklahoma, 6'6", 325. Definite candidate to go on the inside. Matt Gonzalez, I've seen he's an offensive tackle, 6'6", 330. I've seen some services say that he's definitely going to be on the inside. A name that really intrigues me, and a good-sized guy, Caden Wallace out of Penn State. I believe he's definitely going to be on the inside. 6'5", 340 pounds. That's really a pretty good size for a guard. Really ideal size when you think about it. Now, I realize that people have talked about the young man out of Howard University there in Washington, D.C. Dankwa, I don't know how you pronounce his first name. Anim, but he is,
Aniba.
Okay, but he goes 6'8", 360. He's a project. Let's be honest about that. He is going to go the inside, but he needs time. Brandon Coleman is an interesting one. I think he could stay at tackle, but I wouldn't be surprised if he slides to inside. TCU guy. KV Leviston, another offensive tackle that a lot of people have rated a bit high on their boards. 6'5", 330, ideal size for a guard. Anthony Belton, NC State, 6'6", 325. So these are some of the still somewhat top tackles that I think could go to the inside. And there's 2 names that later on intrigue me. And I do believe, yes, they were offensive tackles, but now will have to work their way as offensive guards. And that's Nathan Thomas of Louisiana, University of Louisiana, 6'5", 335. Good player, has good fundamentals, but a bit slow. That's why I think that he moves to the inside. Then you have Ethan Driscoll, somewhat local guy out of Marshall University, 6'7", 330 pounds. I think what you're looking for in a guard is the height and the bulk, and these guys all fit that mold. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go through all of them. So, for everyone watching out there, listening, these are names to look at. Go look them up and see what they can bring to the inside. And I think some of the scouting reports will tell you that their best fit is indeed on the inside.
Adam, switching over to defense, we have Allen, we have Payne, we have Mathis, which we really don't know what Mathis is. I mean, and we have Ridgeway, and I think Obata. They did re-sign Obata. He kind of played up and down the line, just add him as a D tackle also.
Right.
Do you think how do you feel about our defensive tackles?
What's gonna be interesting is I'm hearing buzz that like don't be surprised if we see some 3-4 alignments with them.
Yeah.
So that'll change some things how they use their DTs. But yeah, Mathis, he's an unknown. I think he could, durability issues can be a problem with him. Ridgeway, I do like him. Ridgeway, I like him more, especially when you come into goal line, short, large yardage situations. I think he gives you a lot of strength and agility with the push there. But yeah, I think, they could look at somebody later in the draft. But honestly, out of all the classes in the last like half decade I can think of, this is the most underwhelming to me.
Yeah. Who are you? Okay, so Brother Keystone, I appreciate you for a comment. I saw your comment earlier. But those of you guys that's in the comment section, just talking about John Allen specifically, just put a Y or N if you would trade John Allen. If you would trade John Allen, put a Y or N in the comment section. All right, who are your top guys, Adam?
All right. So it's like a 1A, 1B kind of thing. Jerzyn Newton from Illinois, Big Ten Player of the Year, 8 sacks, 3 technique guy, 4. He's a force first, the pass and the run, for so versatile. Gets a really good jump off the snap, which I like. 6'2", 304. The arm length, okay, 32-inch, 3/8. Good disguising his angles, quickly breaking down, read and react kind of guy. Does struggle with double teams. You don't want to hear that early on, especially coming from the Big Ten, because come the NFL, he takes those. He's not going to last very long if he struggles with that. He needs to dominate more on the point of attack. So, again, this is coming like we're talking about the number 1 defensive tackle in this class. And again, I probably would if I was a team that really needed one, maybe with the second round. But this guy, I don't see any of them really higher than the late second round, third round. So after him, more of a bigger name, but size-wise was really a surprise after, the measurements. That was Brian Murphy, a defensive tackle from Texas, fast, 4'8", 40. So, he's definitely a specimen, but only 6 foot 297. So it is really, every year there's one of those guys
That's
on
short.
Tape. Yeah,
Wow.
he doesn't play like it. He does. Yeah. That's one thing I say. He doesn't play like it. He was bigger. See, that's the thing about the whole 40 thing and everything. These guys lose weight that they're not going to play with in the NFL realistically. I heard, he plays more of the 305, but he checked it at 297. Really good with leverage, good athlete, takes on double teams well, open up opportunities for his teammates. That's one thing you really want to see with a guy if you're looking to get, a late day 2, day 3 defensive tackle is a guy that's going to help open up lanes and help his linebackers. But again, on the smaller side, so again, he plays big, but you can't get past that. He's not an Aaron Donald type athlete. So, I look at these guys that, how much can they do on the next level? So, he's someone I have a really big question with. But a guy that really emerged in the combine, I think he could end up being the best out of all of them, is Brandon Fisk from Florida State. So 6'4", 292, short arms, 31-inch arms. So that's definitely a big concern. I think that takes him probably from the number 1, because to me, arm length really matters at that position, because I think in the NFL, you're going to have to fight, a lot of double teams, counters, things like that. But again, another fast guy, 4'7", 840. So another good athlete. Decisive with his pass rush, good mover. What I liked about him, nonstop motor, very strong, absorbs double teams well. That's one thing, if you don't know what that really get that, when the double teams are coming at him, he never looks panicked. He's always taking them on, and when he takes them on, he's always, open up the lane for his linebackers behind him. So I really like that in the defensive tackle. You're talking about in the 4th round, that's somebody, if he somehow slips, I don't know if I give a 3rd round, but if he slips to the 4th round, that's somebody that could be really valuable. In Washington's case, I see that guy, even though you spent a 2nd round pick on Mathis, this is a guy that I think could replace him ultimately. After that, I feel like it's a decent drop off. I'm going to butcher this name though. A Nigerian-born Ruke Oramano Aro from Clemson. Really strong. I like his willingness to learn. 6'4", 294, 34-inch arms, so good for the good length for the position. Good at pulling, taking on pulling linemen. I like that about him, but still raw. Didn't start playing football until junior year in high school. Hand usage, again, he just looks kind of lost out there, lacks his counters. But again, we're getting to the developmental range, into that late fifth, maybe even sixth round range. I know people have him higher, but I have this whole class, again, I have it downgraded a bit. And, one of the last on my list, a strong bloodline, Chris Jenkins from Michigan. Father played for the Panthers, three-time Pro Bowler.
Hey, okay.
But again, for a local guy from Albany, went to Good Counsel High School. So read and react kind of guy. Good hand strength, plays multiple roles. I definitely like that when you see. So he played on the edge and inside. Again, even though he played on the edge, he really lacks explosion, counter move. So again, 6'3", 299, 34-inch arms. So, he's got those measurables, but again, utility guys, back end roster guys, hopefully you can get him into the fold. But again, I don't know if these are guys you're going to put in the goal line situations. Ridgeway, honestly, like him better than most of these guys. So that tells you a lot about what I think about this defensive tackle class.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. And everyone that's listening that's not, we're going to clip all of these guys' favorites from the draft and have them on the timeline throughout the week. DT, where are you with the defensive tackles?
Yeah, so like Adam said, this kind of not really a strong class in terms of like having the big guy names, but if you had to go with the best guy in this group right now, you would have to say Newton from Illinois. He had a crazy year with the Illinois defense. Past couple of years, Illinois has had crazy players coming from that defense as well. Also, the two Texas boy, Byron Murphy, the second, and Tyron Sweat. Them guys had a great year as well. Big physical guys helped with that. Texas defense led them to the semifinals as well. And Rook, the kid from Clemson, I can't even get his name now. But you mentioned a great point. I think he hasn't really even scratched the surface of what he could possibly be. He has all the physical traits. He has the athleticism and played in at Clemson. So for him and even a guy like Michael Hall, for explosive these guys are, it's all about finding the right fit for where they want to go. And I'm not going to mention Chris Jenkins because he went to Michigan.
Ken, where you at with your D tackles, and how important is that list that you gave us earlier with the D tackles? The 3 technique to the 5 technique and the 3-4. When we had that, we struggled with that because we never had a true nose tackle.
That's true. They have met with 40 defensive tackles, defensive linemen. So that's a pretty fair number. Other defensive linemen, defensive end, and edge rushers, 42. So that may give you an idea. So, but I think that what DT and Adam said is that the talent hasn't been a defensive tackle as plentiful as that we've seen maybe back in the 20 teens. But to me, if you're going to build a defensive tackle, the ideal looking guy is Deron Payne.
Yeah.
The height, the size, and everything. And so I kind of took that model in mind, and knowing that we very unlikely wouldn't take a defensive tackle, very unlikely in the top 100. I wanted to look at late round guys. Some of them could slide up a little bit earlier, but I kind of doubt it. But what I was looking for is a guy that's not too tall. And when I was looking at late round defensive tackles, got a lot of guys that were 6'5", 6'6". That to me is not a good length for a defensive tackle. Defensive tackles have to get down low, and then they have to dig up into those offensive linemen. So with that in mind, I looked at guys around 6'2", 6'3", and had good size. And I started off with Jawan Briggs out of Cincinnati, a good player, 6'2", 300. Could probably, should add about 10 to 15 pounds of muscle to his frame. Good player, good anchor, but still has a bit to learn. Probably a fifth rounder at this point. Everything here is fifth round or later, so just let's get that out of the way. Tyler Davis out of Clemson, another Clemson defensive tackle, 6'2", 300, another guy that would need to add at least 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and bulk to his frame. Marcus Harris out of Auburn, 6'3", 295, could stand at about 20 pounds to his frame. Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon. This is a name that intrigues me. 6'3", 290. Definitely needs to add some bulk and muscle to his frame, but he's quick. So with extra weight to his frame, take away from that quickness, probably so. But he rushes the quarterback pretty good at defending the run, pretty solid anchor. So Brandon Dorlus could be a late round steal. He may slide up a little bit, so we have to wait and see. McKinley Jackson out of Texas A&M. Now, here's a guy I think has the ideal size. Does he have ideal talent? Not yet. He's 6'2", 325. He's probably a late round guy, if not an undrafted free agent. He's intriguing, so maybe Washington takes a flyer on him late if they want to add depth. So he's my most intriguing prospect. McKinley Jackson, Texas A&M.
I would be surprised if they go D tackle at all. Even with the possibility of going to a 3-4, because we know Dan has done it before, right? He switched it up. You saw some sprinkle of it last year. It wasn't as heavy in Atlanta. We know about that Seahawks defense. So my only thing, Adam, is if he decides to do it, even a little sprinkle, who's going to be the nose tackle? Who's going to be willing to eat up those blocks in the middle so these linebackers can run free? That's my biggest concern. Is Ridgeway the guy to do
it? Maybe.
We know Payne don't want to do it. Like he's
yeah. I that's the thing. If it's not a strength, I don't think they'll do it. So if Ridgeway is your main guy there, I don't think you're gonna see much of that. Maybe in sub packages a little bit like that, but for the most part, I think you're seeing those three safeties. It's gonna be that. We could even see that wide 9 look. That's what I'm hearing too. You're gonna see that. So I think it's more about Armstrong. He slid inside a lot with Dallas, so they have the flexibility with some of those guys to do that. So I think the defensive tackle position is going to be, out of probably all the positions heading to this draft, is going to be very little focus on it, because I think, I'm not saying you're set, but I think when you have Allen and Payne, unquestioned starters, and then right behind him, Mathis, second rounder, hopefully, develops, and then Ridgeway, who looked really good last year. I don't think it's a position that you really, mess with a lot. I think they're good right there.
Yeah. And we didn't have no first round grades, right? On the D tackles.
None.
No.
Yeah. None, Mel. What you about to say, DT?
I was just saying I agree. And, looking at Dallas past couple of years when Quinn was there, see kind of the slight difference in how those defensive tackles were playing within that scheme. They're a little bit more explosive. They get upfield, cause penetration, wreak havoc. And a guy I see in our defense, not saying Allen can't do it, but first person I think about is Daron Payne, because he has that get off that can cause and wreak havoc. We even see it in week 2 when he literally stopped a whole drive against Denver by himself. So it'll be interesting to see that. How does Phil Mathis fit that way? Because I don't see him as a guy. Now, he hasn't played as much with injuries and stuff, but I don't really see him as a guy that's gonna be very explosive, get off, more of a guy that's gonna hold down the line and create run lane for the linebackers. But also, let's not forget, your guy 91 Ridgeway. He was in Dallas before he got cut, and they were trying to stash him on the practice squad. So this is kind of a reunion of him. Will he play that nose tackle position? Probably so, but I don't see it as a huge thing. I think they see the Bama boys up front and use that defensive tackle room to stop the run.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's pretty much it. Guards, we if they get one, it'll probably be more so day 3. We really don't see them going center unless it's undrafted. The defensive tackles is a maybe on day 3, depending on how they feel about Mathis. I think is the big one. And Ridgeway, because remember, both of them are on the same scale, same rookie deal. So both of them is going into year 3. Year 3, right? Going into year 3. So they are cheap. So I would doubt if they're not here on the 53, but we'll see. We know it was a lot of fireworks during free agency this week. So we ain't want to, give y'all too much spaz. So we said let's just do trenches. You know what I'm saying? Get the inside on the deep tackles. Not sure we're going to discuss what we're going to do next week, but we are going to have our first mock draft next week. So be prepared for that. We're going to have our first mock draft next week on the Commanders Draft Show. So we definitely want y'all to tap in next week. Cal will be back. I'm sure DT probably will still be here to do this mock draft. I mean, we might have Rose. I mean, who wants Ken to be Adam Peters? Who wants Ken to be Adam Peters next year? I mean next week. Maybe we'll do that. We'll get Adam turn his hat backwards. He could be Dan Quinn. We get Kyle to be Cliff, and we get DT to be Joe Witt. How about that? How about we do that next
Adam Peters, really? Oh my goodness.
Oh man. All right, DT, you got anything?
No, man. Appreciate y'all having me on the show, and stay tuned with a lot of stuff on the Red Zone DC Media, and also catch us on Tuesday for the Command Time podcast live at 7:00. We're going to be having a couple guests before the draft seasons. NFL draft gets here, but just stay tuned for us. We got a lot of content this year.
Yeah, a lot to go. Ken, anything?
I'm going to continue updating the pre-draft meetings list. We have a bunch of team pro days coming this week, and I'll be updating that daily and all the way until the draft. Speaking of mock drafts, I don't know exactly when it's coming, but there will be another one at Hogshaven. I'm also going to probably have an article that's going to grade all the free agent signings thus far, so be on the lookout for that.
Definitely. Adam, got anything?
As always, the burgundyandgoldreport.com, weekly prospects since we're in draft mode right now. Working on Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State, so stay tuned for that scouting report coming out in the next day or two. The burgundyandgoldreport.com. Every Wednesday, Doug and I on Draft on Tap. We get guys from ESPN, NFL, Pro Bowl, Senior Bowls. So check us out. Yeah, we're live on Twitter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for all you using your your time is very valuable for you to use it with us. We definitely appreciate it. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you. One beat, one sound, one heart, one love.